where one of the all-time best to ever grab a microphone and make love to it, if you will. This guy is just simply amazing, and I'm so honored to have the pleasure to be here with the one and only Michael Franks. Man, how you doing?
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Rick.
You have been making some of the smoothest music for a long time now. From Tiger in the Rain. Was that the first one?
No, The Art of Tea was the first one.
Art of Tea was the first
76.
one. In 1976. I was 16 years old. And I fell in love with your music shortly thereafter. One of my first gigs was a jazz radio station in Memphis, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So I had the pleasure of being inundated with jazz at a fairly early age.
Yeah.
Being from Memphis, a music city with all the great R&B and stuff that was coming out of there and the blues, but to have your music in my ear just really helped to shape my life personally, and I want to say thank you for that.
Hey, my pleasure.
Your lyrical content is, you are a poet, at least, I would think. And when I listen to Dragonfly Summer, when I listen to Rainy Night in Tokyo, Sunday Morning Here With You, just some of the great hits that you had over the years, I'm always reminded that this guy is a poet. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's a real compliment. I mean, I spent a lot of time, in college and studied poetry. So it was great to be able to use it to sort of adapt it to songwriting. And I'm just grateful, my fans have, promoted that idea in my writing and encouraged me.
Absolutely. So growing up in Southern California, what were some of your musical influences when you were a kid?
Well, I liked the blues when I was in high school. I was in a little blues band. And I always idolized Sonny Terry and Brownie McGhee, two old country blues guys. And I ended up, when I got a teaching job part-time at UCLA, which is where I had been an undergrad. And it turned out one of the people in my class was working on a record with Sonny Terry and Brownie McGhee. And he said, hey, I'm working on this record. And I said, well, could I meet these guys? And he said, yes. So I went to the studio and met them, and they wanted some tunes, so I sat down and wrote a couple of tunes for them. They liked them a whole lot, and since I was teaching, also I wasn't that busy in the daytime, so Sonny was blind and Brownie had polio, so they needed help, like to get from their hotel to the studio. So I would go pick them up in my little VW wagon and take them to the studio, and they were so fascinating, just to listen to them talk. They were kind of like an old unhappily married couple. But then I wrote those, I guess, 3 tunes for them, and they recorded it on an album, and then I wrote a song for a movie, kind of a sleeper kind of a movie, and Warner Brothers produced this movie, and they asked me if I would go over and meet the people at their record company. And once I did that, the guy there said, hey, we would like you to be an artist. So that was kind of the beginning of my career.
And how old were you then?
I was 28, I think, when I started, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's
an old timer.
I guess that would be considered a late start.
It was a really late start, yeah.
For most, so starting at 28,
yeah.
And then to go on and have a plethora of hits and a plethora of a library of great albums that you've done. And this may be an impossible question, but I've got to ask. Which one's your favorite album of yours?
It's really hard to say. Like I like The Art of Tea. I like Sleeping Gypsy. That was such a great rhythm section with the late Joe Sample and Larry Carlton, the late Wilton Felder, John Guerin, like this amazing band of studio samurai type guys in LA. But they're all kind of, I'm fond of all of them, and it's hard to I like the most recent one. I mean, I listened to the most recent one. About 2 or 3 months after I finished it, I go back and listen to it. So it's kind of hard to pick a favorite.
So let's talk about this current one, the latest one. There it is. The Music in My Head.
Yeah.
So, wow, that says a lot.
That's really where it comes from, yeah.
Well, it never disappoints. Anything that I've ever heard from you has always just simply been incredible. And the music is always great of Michael Franks. So, what's next for you, Mike?
I am trying to write down some memories of all the great players I've worked with over the years, and so I'm about halfway, maybe a third, I guess. Of the way
Writing a
through
book.
that. Yeah, it's kind of like memoirs, I guess.
Yeah.
You hate to say memoirs, because and it's like, where's my cane? But it's kind of like memoirs, yeah.
Well, I can't wait until it's published. I'm sure there will be so much great information and great stories in there from your heart and from your experiences, because music is just so incredible. And then the lives of the musicians that live the music are even more incredible.
Absolutely.
So for you to be able to put that in a book form or memoir form for us, something we look forward to.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Franks, the new CD is out, The Music in My Head. Make sure you go and get it. We are here in Atlanta, Georgia at the Mabel House Barnes Amphitheater for this great concert that's going to happen tonight. Can't wait to hear the legendary Michael Franks. This is Rick Joyner for Smooth Grooves TV.